Hey guys, how's it going? As the title says, not always heavy equipment. This was a nice little project, some radius 6-inch diameter pipe. I think it was a schedule 10, roughly 1/8 inch thick or so. I had to make some weldments for a company that wanted me to make some fixtures out of this pipes, these first few pipes, so that they can make more of them. And this is quite a challenge. It was very interesting, a lot of fun, but still a challenge. It took me almost about a week or so to get it done. But one of the things I used to help me was this curve mark tool here. And as you'll see through the pictures, it was real beneficial because in order to lay out or to get the layout that I needed, I actually marked it all up on the floor and then used this angle finder to try and match. So if you can see there on the concrete at the bottom, you can kind of see where the line sort of matches. And I just lined up the curve mark and made little dots here and there. Went all the way around. Now it doesn't sit really flat on a radius piece, so you just have to hold it on there really good. But at least was able to get my lines that needed to be cut, marked. And so from that point, set it up into the bandsaw. I have an LS3000 bandsaw. And got some pipe jacks. Kind of wiggled it around to where I could get a combination of the clamping and the angle of the head of the saw to match up, and made the cuts. So this was the flange that they wanted me to put on both ends. They came pre-machined and ready to go. That was pretty easy enough. Got the angle cut. Put those right. Actually had to make the fixture for it as well. So I was able to fit them in the fixture and then weld them up like you see here. Not the best, not the worst, but it worked out all right. I haven't TIG welded in a long time, but this was nice and fun. So it worked out really nicely. I guess I'm just showing off here because that's an awful lot of weld pictures. Sorry about that. But anyway, so there's part of the fixture up there as far as bolting the flanges to it, and had the second one ready to go. Put them together, and that was a set. Now the next set was something more like a Y, in the shape of a Y, and that also I laid out on the ground so that I could match what the drawings were wanting. Now if you see there, that's an oversized length piece, and I made sure to leave it longer so that I can trim back towards where it needed to be, because as you'll see here in the drawing, where the joint in the center of that yoke meets up, that had to be pretty close, and I left the ends long where the flanges go, and then I would trim them last. And I don't exactly know what this went to, but it just, that's what they wanted, and that's what I made. So as you can see there, you can see all the marks on the ground. Worked out pretty good. Used the same principle with a curve mark and dotted them up, made some lines. I slowly worked my way. You see the wraparound there, using a piece of manila folder. Just keep trimming and trimming and trimming until it fit exactly right where it needed to be. Then I cut the ends to the proper length. Now there was a challenge because these pipes were not rolled exactly right, or the same radius. And so I talked with a customer, said that's all right, just as long as they get pretty close, but they did need the flanges at the proper length. So okay, fair enough, easy enough. So I set it up on the back bandsaw again, cut them up, set them back in the fixture, and we were ready to go. And you got to get creative every once in a while, because your bandsaw can only clamp certain things, and add little spacers and shims here. I got to level my center punch mark as well to make sure that my angle stayed straight. You do that beforehand, that way you know that they're coming out right. And so just be real careful. They didn't leave me much material left over, so I had to be real cautious. That's why I was so nervous about it, because it was a nice, expensive job for material-wise, and I didn't want to mess it up. So there's the fixture I built for them. Bolt the flanges up in place. Got some of the pieces already saddled and cut, and the next picture should show it all set up. And that worked out well. And like I mentioned, the radius was slightly different on each one. Like on this one here, I tried using that same manila folder as my template, and it was off because the radiuses were different on those pipes. So again, I had to I'm glad I left them long. So I trim it up, and got to where it fit well. And there it is. Another thing with the drawing is that it showed that it was way off center on the flange. But that's the way the drawing is called for, so it looked very odd, very weird, but it is what it is, and that's what they wanted, so make sure to follow the plan. And that's the second one after I finished up trimming it up and making it fit. Very thin wall piping, like I mentioned, only 1/8 inch thick, so I didn't want to leave too big of a gap because that would create a problem when welding. So the welding I did in 2 passes. First a little root pass to seal it all up, and another cover pass. And this is the inside. That was a little bit of a challenge to get into. Had to stick out the tungsten a little bit further, but those that TIG weld know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's the setup right there, how it looked. And needed a cap on the end, a half dome cap. And that was it. So next point was to just get it welded. This is the drawing where you show the center line on the left hand side and the offset. It was just very odd, but it worked. So good for them, good for me. I guess I had too many pictures to show. There's too many times, I guess. So there's the opposite side where you can tell that the one side is just way off, but it is what it is. Now it's time for welding. So I don't have any video of me welding because this was before I did any videoing for YouTube. This is mostly just for Instagram, and I show little clips here and there. And the final fit up. That's the first one there, I believe. I think the second one was coming up after this. And I just wanted to show that, you know, with enough time and patience, you can get it exactly right. Again, it's very stressful because I had never done anything like this before, and that's just such an odd weldment. I didn't know if it was going to come out good, but one bite at a time and you'll get there eventually. So I'm glad it worked out well. Okay, so moving on. This was the first pass of the weld that I did, and I ended up going over it again with another pass. And so kind of a short video. This is the first root pass also on the flange, and then the next pass went over it. Sorry it's not an actual full-length video. And there's the cap. Made it like the Death Star. And this is the air-cooled torch I use. I use a Dynasty 350 machine, Miller. What else? I guess that was it. You know, it was a nice little project, nice challenge, a lot of fun. Did well. Customer was glad I was able to do that for them. So from that point, they were able to make more of them. So that's the finished product there. I just loaded them back up onto the trailer after it was done, and then it was back to the customer, and they made the rest of them. So I hope you learned something from this. Not exactly like my other videos, but I appreciate the interest and the support. And so I appreciate all that you guys do. And thanks again, and we will catch up with you guys a little bit later because I had to load this up and edit out. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.